Good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Chase Anderson. I'm the superintendent for the school district, and it's my honor at our regular school board meetings to convene the recognition portion of our meeting. So I'd like to welcome all of you here on this beautiful night, and pleased that you chose to spend a little bit of time with us here to recognize students and staff for their great contributions and achievements. We have, I think, about 4 recognitions this evening, and I'm going to start out, as is our tradition, to recognize any staff member in the past month who has announced their intent to retire. And we have one such staff member this month, and I'm not seeing her in the crowd, but her name is Vera Druva, and she's been a teacher at Plymouth Creek for 12 years. And although I don't see her sprinting to the podium here to be recognized, but she's probably watching at home on television, and if you could join me in a round of applause, we would appreciate that. We greatly appreciate all the contributions of our staff, and we wish Vera well as she moves into this next chapter of her life. Our next recognition is for our 2018 Boys Track and Field Team Class AA State Championship. And I know we have some coaches here tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Coach Burnt here in just a moment, but I'd like to ask our coaches and athletes to feel free to come forward, and then we'll get a photo here after we get a chance to make a few comments. So congratulations. So I'll just share a couple of opening comments and then turn it over to Coach Burnt to share a little bit more about the season and to introduce the athletes and coaches that are here with him this evening. Congratulations to the Wayzata High School boys track and field team on their 3rd state championship in the last 4 years. The team scored 75 points over 20 events with a 17-point margin of victory. In addition, Khalid Hussein, a Wayzata High School class of 2018 graduate, won both the 1600 and the 3200 meter races. Congratulations to all of our team members. Thank you for being here tonight. Coach, I'll turn it over to you. Well done.
Thank you. Dr. Anderson, members of the board, I appreciate you for inviting us in here this evening. I just bring a few members of our state championship team. This is just a small fraction of our 225 boys we have for track and field at the high school. We had a pretty exceptional year, to say the least. These boys right here were the Lake Conference champions. They were the True Team Section 7 champions. They were the state True Team champions for the 6th consecutive year. They were in the high school league tournament series. They were the Section 6 champions, and of course, as Dr. Anderson said, the state champions in the Minnesota State High School League state tournament. Besides being pretty good on the athletic endeavors, we had 17 academic all-state members, and this team right here also achieved a gold status, which is the highest academic rating that a team can achieve in the state tournament series. The members that I brought here tonight are some boys that participate in the State High School League meet, and I'll introduce each of them if you guys would come on over here. First one up, Mitchell Tolander. Mitchell was the member of the 4x8 this past year, which was the runner-up. Go on over here, Mitchell. Anders Sanderson, who was a member of the 800 meter, was an all-state athlete. He may be a little bit familiar because I believe this is his 3rd state championship team this season, of being part of the cross-country state championship, the Nordic state championship, and now track and field. Dante White, sophomore, come on over, Dante. Dante was a all-state in both the 4x1, 4x2, and the long jump. John Taylor was an all-state athlete in the long jump. Frank Fetro was an all-state athlete in both the 4x4 and the 4x8. Patrick Leonard was an all-state athlete in the 800 meter run. Drake Daniels was an all-state athlete in the 110 hurdles. Ben Hadani, who went over 14 feet to be all-state in the pole vault. And Max Baker, who was all-state in the sprint relays as a member of the 4x4. And I also have with me Eric Jan, who is one of my distance coaches.
Congratulations.
Our next recognition this evening is for our 2018 Girls Track and Field Discus Class AA State Champion, Carissa Travis. And I'd like to invite her to please come forward. Congratulations to Carissa Travis, a Wayzata High School class of 2018 graduate who recently won the 2018 Minnesota State High School League Class AA Girls Track and Field Discus Throw and is the state champion. Carissa threw the discus 6 times with a best mark of 133 feet, 11 inches. And as a former discus coach myself, as hard as that is to believe, that's a really good throw. So congratulations. That's a wonderful accomplishment. Would you like to make a few comments? Or are you good not doing that? Coach? Yes. Coach Alicia Perscala is here tonight also. I'm sorry to introduce you before.
That's okay. Thank you. And thank you for having us. So as he mentioned that Carissa won the state meet on her 6th throw. She threw 133 feet, 11 inches. You only get 6 total throws. So in that very last throw, that one attempt made her move from 5th place up to 1st place in order to win on her last try. So that was a fabulous accomplishment at the end of the meet and at the end of the season as a senior. Leading up to the state meet, she's been a great asset to our team in terms of leadership. She's always prepared and very hardworking at practice, organizing the other athletes. She's been in varsity for us for 3 years now in both the shot put and the discus. She's won 1st place in discus in every meet this year except for one. And the one time she didn't get 1st place, she got 3rd. It was at True Team State. And her throws, even though it was 3rd place in both the shot and disc, contributed numerous points to our team and allowing our team as a girls team to win the True Team State meet for the first time ever. Well, thank you. And a couple more great things that she's done for us is she got 1st place in both the shot and discus at the conference meet. And she got 1st place at sections, which put her automatically at the state meet to win that as well. So, congratulations.
And our next recognition this evening is for our 2018 Boys Golf Class AAA State Championship. Congratulations go to Tristan Nelko, who I think was unable to be here this evening. A Wayzata High School class of 2018 graduate who recently won the 2018 Minnesota State High School League Class AAA Boys Golf Tournament. The tournament was held June 12th and 13th at Bunker Hills Golf Club in Coon Rapids. Tristan had a 4-stroke victory after 2 rounds and finished with a score of 139. Tristan was also named Mr. Minnesota Golf for 2018 after winning 8 of the 9 tournaments he competed in this season with an average of just over 70 strokes per round. That's in 18 holes, mind you. That's quite a great accomplishment. So unfortunately, Tristan was unable to be here with us tonight, I think. I don't see him here anywhere. I want to make sure. But we wish him well as he moves on to the next level of competition. So thanks again. I think we had somebody join us who we probably would like to recognize. I'm going to turn it over to Coach Burnt. And we don't want to miss out on this opportunity. So I'm going to turn it back over to Coach Burnt.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. It's as hard as it is to win a state championship. We had one individual this year that He was a state cross-country champion. He was the 2-mile state champion and the mile state champion. But he showed up about 15 minutes late tonight. But he looks great, doesn't he? Yeah. Last introduction is Khalid Hussein. Khalid, like I said, was the state champion for us in both the 1600 and the 2-mile in the state track meet. He signed a scholarship offer to attend and run for the University of Minnesota this coming fall as well. So, senior Khalid Hussein.
Great.
Yeah, bring the whole crew.
Yeah, redo it. Come back up.
Run
Come
up
on.
here, be quick. We know you can be quick. We know you can be quick.
I'm glad they're all still here.
Yes, right.
Yeah, right.
Camera.
Trouble with this one.
I don't know.
Yes, exactly. Well, we'll see you next year. I believe that concludes our recognition part of our program this evening. So at this time, I would like to encourage you to feel free to make a graceful exit. Of course, you're always welcome to remain for the entire school board meeting, but it's a beautiful night out there. We thank you so much for being here. Kids, congratulations on the great work, and adults, thank you for all the time and energy and support that you bring forth and provide to our student athletes. Have a great evening, and thank you.
I'm going to.
I think you can just do it. Okay.
Okay. Well, typically after the recognitions, we have a student curriculum presentation, but it is July, and our students and faculty are on summer break. So we will look forward to resuming those curriculum presentations again in August, or in September, probably. And so we'll pass it on over. The next item on our agenda are superintendent's reports and recommendations. And I believe the first is yours, Dr. Anderson.
Madam Chair and members of the board, yes, I do indeed have the next agenda item. And the item title is the MDHR agreement, and I'd like to share a little bit of background with you in regard to this agreement. During recent months, several WPS school district personnel and a number of school districts and charter schools from across the state have been working with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights on creating a plan intended to decrease the total number of student suspensions. The MDHR initiated a statewide effort about a year ago to address issues of perceived racial, ethnic, and/or special education disparities in student disciplinary actions. Such perceived disparities in student discipline rates is an issue of national concern. There is no consensus as to the root cause of any perceived disparities that may exist in student discipline rates within the district, within Minnesota, Minnesota or across the United States, and there's no current consensus as how to best address any disparities that may exist. Given the facts stated above, the MDHR and the district share mutual goals to ensure learning occurs in safe and supportive environments. Every student has an equal opportunity to fully participate in and to receive a quality education. And 3, the district applies its student discipline policies and procedures in a consistent manner. The MDHR and the district share the commitment of working together to maintain and/or improve high levels of student engagement and academic achievement. Further, the two parties share the desire to find methods that can minimize the use of exclusionary discipline actions when it is believed that other interventions can bring forth equally effective or improved behavior results. The MDHR and district each recognize that there are many strategies that can be implemented to address student discipline concerns. The district will continue with its current effective practices and select from among other engagement practices that it feels are best suited to meet student needs. The district is entering into this agreement to become an active participant in MDHR's statewide efforts to address perceived racial, ethnic, and special education disparities in the administration of student discipline. The district will have an appropriate number of staff members serve on a statewide committee to be established by the MDHR, working in tandem with MDE, which is the Minnesota Department of Education, that will research and discuss best practices for addressing student behavioral issues.
Okay, thank you. So, board colleagues, the recommended action before us is to approve the attached agreement and Exhibit A as presented by Dr. Anderson and detailed in the board packet. Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move, and I move that we waive the reading, please. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? No. I have one question for you, Dr. Anderson. We mentioned in your introductory comments, you mentioned that MDHR has initiated a statewide effort, and so we are certainly not the only district that is working to make improvements in this area. And then you also referenced some of our current effective practices that we have also already been doing. I'm wondering if you want to share with us at all any of those statewide efforts and/or any of our practices that we know that we're already doing to address this issue.
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the board, there are a number of things already that our school district is involved in. You're aware that we've currently initiated, we're in the first year of our early education outreach team, and a lot of disciplinary concerns that evolve are the result of lack of academic success in many cases, or opportunities to demonstrate that success. And the earlier that we can reach out and help ensure that our students get off to a great start in kindergarten, we think can help throughout the school experience. We've also expanded our summer learning program and working hard to, again, help ensure that our students continue to learn during the summer months and pick up where they left off. We're also, I think you're aware that we've done quite a lot of reorganization at our high school with our student support services teams, including arranging our students into what is currently 3 teams, and in a year or two will be 4 teams, an expansion and lowering of the general opportunities for engagement with our students, with the student support staff at the high school. There are a number of other interventions or plans that are currently in place, or topics that we'll likely be having additional conversation about. Again, I think you're fairly well versed on the fact that many of our schools have PBIS, or positive intervention and supports, in place. We think that that's been a very effective program. Safe and responsive schools, professional development and support for teachers is another area that we feel is important and that we'll continue to focus on. Restorative justice practices, community service programs. We have a wonderful YES program at our high school under the leadership of our community education program, and having opportunities to engage in that way, or using that as possibly an alternative to some disciplinary consequences, particularly suspensions, can be a helpful intervention and approach. Community school partnerships. We have an alternative school at our high school and also available to our middle school students, and for some students that's a helpful approach as well. So in general, there are a lot of practices that were currently in place that we can continue with and or strengthen, and continue to seek other opportunities on how we can best engage with our students and help ensure that positive student behavior is the norm, and we're fortunate that our students are well-behaved, and we will be working in cooperation with the statewide committee to learn from other districts on what they're doing and offer our insights, and we're always looking for ways to improve and get better, and we're accepting this and looking at it as an opportunity to improve how we engage with and work with our students, all, of course, to help ensure excellence in learning for each and every one of our students, as per our mission.
Okay,
Thank you.
good, thank you. Thank you for that very detailed statement
You're welcome.
of what we're doing, as well as how we're working and learning from others. Are there any other questions or comments? No? Okay, hearing no additional discussion, I think that this is a general vote. All in favor of approving the recommended action, which is to approve the attached agreement and Exhibit A as presented, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstention? The motion carries. All right, thank you. And now I think we move on to the business and finance show. Mr. Westrom, I think you've got quite a few things for us this evening.
Yeah, a few items that will require board approval this evening. We have 7 items. The first item is an informational item. The first item is our monthly financial reports as of May 2018, and they include the Student Activity Fund Report, the Investment Summary Report, an analysis of our financial reports, a statement of revenues, and a statement of expenditures. These items are through May, and as you know, the fiscal year of the school district does end on June 30th, so it'll probably be 60 days before you receive any additional financial reports. But the business office is busy closing the books related to fiscal year 18. We got our first turnaround report on our student enrollment, and our student enrollment was very close to projected, and of course that will generate the revenues for the school district for last year. And then our expenditures are coming in fairly close to what was projected as well. You're probably aware that we project high in energy costs and snow plowing costs, et cetera, and to make sure we don't need to come back to the board and ask for additional authority. And so we anticipate that we'll come in slightly under budget in our expenditures as well. So with that, there's no action required, but I'd be happy to respond to any questions if there are any questions through May.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? No? Good to hear that even after all that snow, we're still coming in under budget for our plowing and salt, right? It was quite a year for that, so.
Yes, we are.
Great, okay, thank you.
Yes, okay. The next items will require board action, and the first is the approval of a purchase agreement for land. At the district's June 11th, 2018 regular school board meeting, the board passed a resolution allowing the superintendent or the executive director of finance and business services to sign and enter into a purchase agreement for the acquisition of land to construct a new educational facility. The director of administrative services, who is with us this evening, Kristen Tollison, and myself have entered into a purchase agreement for the purchase of that land, and that will allow the district to possess land if the need to construct a new educational facility occurs in future years. The district's legal counsel has been deeply involved and has reviewed the purchase agreement and has completed the performance of due diligence procedures. The closing may now occur. So the administration and the board deem this purchase to be economically advisable, and the recommended action is before you.
Okay, thank you. So, board colleagues, the recommended action is to approve the purchase agreement by and between Independent School District 284 and the WW Farm of David Wesson and George and Sue Wesson for the purchase of land located in Medina, Minnesota, Hennepin County, property ID numbers 11-118-23-24-0001, 11-118-23-13-0001, 11-118-23-42-0001, and that portion of the property ID 11-1118-23-43-0001, which is located northerly of Hamel Road. Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move. I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just ask
Mr.
a
McCullough.
question. So at our facilities committee meetings, I know I've seen pictures of this tract of land, and despite Chair Johansson's excellent job of describing it. Can you just give me a visualization to remind me where this set of tracts of land is?
Sure, I'll make initial comments, and then perhaps Ms. Tollison will make additional comments. Our district actually includes a large portion of Medina going all the way out to Pioneer Trail and Highway 55. And so the land that we're looking at, that is a part of this purchase agreement that you're being asked to approve this evening, is off of Highway 55 and Tamarack. And on the southern portion, it would be off of Hamel Road. Tamarack is currently a dirt road, so it would be very difficult for you to identify that road, although I believe some of the board members have gone out and inspected this property. A more well-known landmark might be the Hennepin County Public Works Building, is directly to the west of this property. But this property is pretty much located in the central portion of the city of Medina that is located within the Wayzata School District. And Kristen, any other comments?
So just to follow up, then the Tamarack Road, that north-south current dirt road, that essentially bisects the properties. I mean, there's properties on both sides of that.
That is correct. So Tamarack actually has a turn lane off of 55, but it goes into a dirt road that doesn't exist. And Tamarack is scheduled to go from Highway 55 to Hamel Road and be in a road that would connect those two major roads.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Ms. Polzin.
Yes, could you just let us know whether the size of all of these parcels of land are providing adequate acreage for a lot of flexibility with whatever our future needs might be?
Yes, thank you, Director Polzin. And as you know, as a member of the Facilities Committee, we've been looking at different parcels throughout the district, and the parcels that are included in tonight's resolution, actually, we have tested for not only a possible elementary site, but possibly another educational facility as well. We believe that depending on how the site is configured, there are a lot of options available to us. And then there are additional parcels that the district could purchase that are directly adjacent. We're aware of another residential property that could be available to future boards if needed at some point in the future.
Okay, and then as follow-up, access to the portions that we will be purchasing there's easy access and the traffic flow will be appropriate?
At this point, similar to when we purchased the Elm Creek Golf Course, we will have purchased a driveway. So we will have a driveway into the site, so we will have access to that. I would also like to mention that as a part of the purchase agreement, Ms. Tollison has worked with the current owners, and we will have some facilities that will need to be demolished within a certain time frame as well. So the land will be vacant once the district is in complete ownership of the property.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Questions? I guess I have one, Mr. Westrom, just for clarification. So the district is entering into a purchase agreement for some land. Are we planning to build something anytime soon?
Madam Chair, members of the board, as you know, the district has a Citizens Finance Advisory Council made up of 12 members of the community, and their recommendation has to always have access to property or land in the event that a future school board to build an educational facility. I'm not sure if I'm looking at a future school board before me right now or not, so.
Okay.
But it will give future school boards or this school board the option to build additional educational facilities as determined.
Okay. Thank you. And I asked that a bit. I just wanted to make sure to clarify for our viewing public too that that the precedent that we do have on the board to make sure that has been guided by our Citizens Finance Advisory Council that just says even if we're not land speculators, but we never want to set up the district or the board in a position where if something was needed that we wouldn't have some options. So thank you for that. And we do know that the district, just as you reported on your enrollment numbers at the beginning of your financial report, the district and your office specifically really monitors monitors the growth in our community and takes a great look at our facilities to make sure that we have adequate space and that we're also being responsible stewards of our taxpayer dollars. So thank you for that and for your clarification about what this action is about.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, well, once again, the recommended action is before you, and it's regarding the approval of the purchase agreement that I just read earlier. I'm not going to read the whole thing in detail again, but I did say that. And there has been a motion and a second on the table, and so now I think we have a roll call.
Can I, sorry,
Oh,
I have one
that's
other
okay.
question.
Nope.
So I know that the lease back is part of the next item on our agenda, but the question I have is, if I look at the two together, the purchase of the land that we're considering approving right now has a close date of August 17, proposed close date. The lease back has an end date, so the end of the lease term is September 30th, which is an additional 5.5, 6 weeks. So my question is, why do the closing on the purchase on August 17 and then just do a quick 5-week lease back? Does it make any sense to just close on our purchase of the land on September 30th and just do everything at once?
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Yes, Director McCullough and members of the board. Actually, we wanted to close on the property as quickly as possible. And mainly the leaseback ended up being proposed as a part of the timing between when the people, or when the family that we're purchasing the property from is able to purchase replacement property for themselves. So we would still like to close in mid-August, and they would still like to have the ability to basically, I think there's some crops, they would like to be able to take those crops and also process any financing they need to purchase replacement property. So that question was raised by board members, and I appreciate it, and I did do some additional inquiry to find out exactly how that came to be and to see if there was a way for us to combine those two dates into one. And it actually works out more favorable for the family and for the dissemination of crops, I guess, for lack of a better explanation.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I realized I should ask that question before we go to the next item. So thank you, Mr. Westrom.
Thank you.
Well, and thank you, Director McCullough. As long as you ask it before we do an approve, before we vote, we are all good. So thank you so much for that. Okay, once again, the recommended action is before you, and it's regarding the approval of a purchase agreement by and between Independent School District 284 and the WW Farm, as detailed in the introduction and in your board packet, and it's a roll call vote.
Yes, Linda Cohen,
Yes.
Andrea Keene,
Yes.
Bonita Lucky,
Yes.
Chris McCullough,
Yes.
Cheryl Polzine, yes, Eric Brown,
Yes.
and Chair Johansson.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. That's exciting.
Yes, thank you,
From-
Madam Chair, members of the board. The next item is the approval of the leaseback agreement that we just discussed. And in the interest of expediting the district's acquisition of land, and as a condition of the purchase agreement by and between the school district and the parties mentioned for the purchase of the land located in Medina at the address mentioned, it was deemed prudent to allow the current owners to retain use of the home through September 30th. And part of that interest in retaining the use of the property was for harvesting some crops and to allow them to close on a replacement property. So the current owner's use of the property is described in the leaseback agreement, and the district's legal counsel has reviewed the leaseback agreement and recommends its approval. The administration and the board deemed the leaseback agreement to be prudent and to allow the district to expedite the related purchase of land for future educational facilities when needed. So the recommended action is before you.
Okay, thank you. Board colleagues, the recommended action is to approve the leaseback agreement by and between Independent School District 284 and George and Sue Wesson for the home and adjacent property located with an address of 1151 Hamel Road in Medina, Minnesota. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I do think we had a little discussion regarding this item in the last one, and so that makes sense. It's a roll call vote.
Okay. Andrea Keene,
Yes.
Bonita Lucky,
Yes.
Chris McCullough,
Yes.
Cheryl Polzine, yes. Eric Brown,
Yes.
Linda Cohen,
Yes.
and Chair Johansson.
Yes.
That's unanimous.
All right.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, I would like to just mention real quick that our Director of Administrative Services, Kristen Tollison, has been in close contact with city officials with the city of Medina.
Okay.
And so it would be important for you to know that. And the next item would be a resolution authorizing the superintendent and/or executive director of finance and business services to execute closing documents for the purchase of land. The reason why the board will pass this resolution is so that either Chase or myself can attend to the closing and sign the documents on behalf of the district. So I'll waive the reading at this point, and the recommended action is before you.
Okay, thank you. So, board colleagues, the recommended action is to approve the resolution for authorizing the superintendent and/or executive director of finance and business services to execute the closing documents for the purchase of land that we have been discussing. Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move.
And
Second.
shall we read the resolution? Or would the maker of the motion like to waive the reading of the resolution?
I will waive the reading of the resolution.
Is that amenable to the seconder as
Yes, it
well?
is.
All right.
you.
So, thank you. So, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Once again, I think we've talked about this and why we're doing it and what needs to happen next. So, this too is a resolution and a roll call vote.
Yes. Bonita Lucky,
Yes.
Chris McCullough,
Yes.
Cheryl Polzine, yes. Eric Brown,
Yes.
Linda Cohen,
Yes.
Andrea Keen.
Yes.
And Chair Johansson.
Yes. All right, fantastic. It looks like you guys are going to be busy in the next upcoming weeks.
Yes, we will be very busy. Our next item is a master lease purchase agreement with American Capital. And the Wayzata Public Schools desires to enter into a master lease purchase agreement with American Capital for the purpose of acquiring and financing a web filter. The web filter is an update with enhanced features, and the equipment cost is $143,550 with an interest rate of 4.09% per annum. The terms and conditions are included with the master lease purchase agreement included within your board packet, and the agreement includes 3 annual payments beginning July 2018. You can see the additional information that's included in your board packet here. I would like to skip down and just say that there are several advantages of utilizing this lease purchase agreement for the acquisition and financing of the web filter. In addition to these advantages, annual payments will match the expenditures with the annual technology levy revenue, which is a primary funding source. So basically what we're doing is we're matching the revenue flow with the expenditure outlay. The district received 3 responses with terms of 3 annual equal payments. The first payment is due upon arrival of the web filter, and the results were American Capital, $49,807.95 per payment, Lease Finance Group, $51,230.65 per payment, and Providence Capital, $50,428 per payment. So you can see that the recommended action is to provide the low bid and the lowest responsible bid, and the numbers came in very competitively. So the recommended action is before you.
All right, thank you. Yes, so the recommended action is to approve the master lease purchase agreement with American Capital and authorize the executive director of finance and business services to execute and deliver the agreement. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Ms. Polzine?
Okay, this may or may not be an obvious question, but will this new web filter increase our security of our information? Is that the general purpose of this purchase?
Yes, Director Polzine, members of the board. Actually, the web filter, the intent of the web filter is to provide additional security to our students, staff, and other users of our internet services. And actually, it's also looked upon favorably by our risk managers and insurance companies as well. You're probably aware that we do purchase cyber liability insurance. And Wade Phillips is our Director of Technology, and he has given careful consideration to this enhancement to our web filter, and also he works with a group of community members through his SciTech group. So, great question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? No. Okay, the motion is before you, with the motions are before you for the recommended action. All in favor of approving the master lease purchase agreement with American Capital, and authorizing the executive director of finance and business to execute and deliver the agreement, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Abstentions, motion carries.
Okay, we're getting there. The next item, Madam Chair and members of the board, is the appointment of a solar development strategic partner. And just going to make a couple quick remarks. You're probably aware that the district often will select strategic partners to assist in major areas of construction, such as Wool Architects is our architect of record. Kraus Anderson is our construction manager of record. We have financial advisors and investment advisors. So at this point, we actually will be appointing advisors to the district, but we will not be actually approving any solar energy installations at this point. So on April 24th, 2018, the district authorized its strategic energy partner, Connect Energy Group, to issue a joint request for proposal with the Hopkins Public Schools for a comprehensive engineering, procurement, and construction services and project financing for on-site rooftop solar energy development solutions. The joint RFP was issued with the goal of capturing more favorable pricing that comes from larger economies of scale. A total of 14 developers responded to the joint RFP, and 8 of those developers were selected to move forward to site visits, and they actually visited our sites and they visited sites in the Hopkins School District. Further evaluation criteria was given careful consideration, and the developer recommendations were to select 2 developers, Borrego Solar out of Colorado and Microgrid Energy out of Illinois. And I might have that backwards, I'm not exactly sure, but to serve as the district's strategic partners. Upon school board approval of selecting the 2 strategic partners, the district administration's next step include using these strategic partners to assist the district administration in planning for comprehensive engineering, procurement, construction, and financing of on-site rooftop solar energy at Oakwood Elementary and East Middle School. Those 2 sites were selected because their roofs are new, and so it would not require additional costs associated with that. I would also like to mention that next Tuesday, we have a Citizens Finance Advisory Council meeting at 7:30, and we will have 3 of the consultants actually attend our Citizens Finance Advisory Council meeting next Tuesday morning to go over different options, and then we'll have some deeper conversations related to that. So the developers will also secure rebates and financing available by submitting the required interconnection application to Xcel Energy. And just to give you a little more detail, part of the reason why solar becomes so favorable and attractive is due to the rebates that are available through Xcel Energy. So at this point, we're simply asking the board to approve 2 partners, and the recommended action is before you.
All right, thank you. So, the board members, the recommended action is to approve Borrego Solar and Microgrid Energy to service the district strategic partners for on-site rooftop solar energy development solutions, and to authorize the submission of the required interconnection applications to Xcel Energy to receive solar energy rebates. Is there a motion to that effect?
So move.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Brown?
Mr. Westrom, just a quick question. Could you walk through how you plan to work with Hopkins School District through this process?
Yes, actually, a number of districts locally use Connect Energy to do, to buy futures as far as natural gas. And so we have been working very closely with Connect Energy and some of the neighboring districts that are also working with them on layering our natural gas. So it was a logical relationship that through our monthly meetings or quarterly meetings that we give consideration to partnering with a neighboring district to see if we could see some economies of scale that would actually provide better pricing and better opportunities for each of the districts. We're not required to enter into a joint agreement with the actual solar provider. However, at this point, both districts and both school boards, both the Hopkins School Board and hopefully the Wayzata School Board this evening, have approved the 2 top RFP
Thank you.
recipients. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, great question. Ms. Polzin?
This is more of a comment as we do start to work with Hopkins and these partners. I guess I would ask, and perhaps all my board colleagues would also ask, that you work carefully with them to ensure the safety and security of our staff and students. Because when you talk about rooftop solar panels, and I saw the schematics in the board packet, and it looks like they're pretty full. The rooftops are pretty full, so I guess just structurally and everything, I'm sure that everybody works for the utmost safety, but I guess I'm just asking you to be very diligent to make sure that when they're implementing and installing and also the ongoing operation, because they'll be there for many years, right, 20 to 25 years. So just that we make sure that we take all the precautions necessary to be safe.
Yes, Director Polzin and members of the board, I would like to share that Dan Carlson, the district's electrician of record, actually did the walkthroughs, and I was quite impressed with the knowledge on setbacks and the safety and precautions that will be taken not only to protect the roofs, but to protect our staff if our staff are on the roofs, and also just with the enhancements in the technology itself. For instance, when you think of solar panels, you're probably thinking of fragile glass, and I think a lot of advancements have been made in the last 3 years. Board members may remember that 3 years ago, we looked at participating in solar gardens, and at that point, it wasn't the best choice for the Wayzata School District. But now with the advances in technology and the different rate structures and rebate structures, the timing appears to be more favorable, specifically for the Wayzata Public Schools. So thank you for those remarks.
Thank you. Great. Any other questions? I too would just like to say a thank you to the CFAC committee from 3 years ago, as well as your office, Mr. Westrom, because I know that this has been a kind of a perennial conversation point. And when we did pause 3 years ago, it really was because we set some pretty firm guidelines about what we were looking for. And it's been the diligence of that group to stick with it, as well as your office and our facilities to keep looking at solutions that could be helpful and effective for our district. So thank you for staying on top of that, and it's exciting to see what could happen. All right, so the recommended action is before you regarding approving Borrego Solar and Microgrid Energy to serve as our strategic partners for the solar energy development, and to authorize the submission of the required interconnection applications to Excel Energy to receive the solar energy rebates. It's been moved and seconded. We've had some discussion. It's now a roll call vote.
Yes. Chris McCullough.
Yes.
Cheryl Polzin, yes. Eric Brown.
Yes.
Linda Cohen.
Yes.
Andrea Keene.
Yes.
Bonita Lucky.
Yes.
And Chair Johansson.
Yes.
Passes.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Westrom, I think it's your last one.
Yes, our last item this evening is the approval of Wayzata Public Schools Management Plan for Lead and Water. And you're probably aware that the district does participate in the long-term facility maintenance program of the state of Minnesota. And we have a health and safety coordinator as well as a director of facilities and transportation. And they've been working to put together the management plan for lead and water, and we need the board to approve it so that we can finance it with the funding stream that's available for financing this. So Wayzata Public Schools is committed to providing a safe working and learning environment for employees and students. This management plan for lead and water was developed to reduce the potential for exposure to lead and water and to comply with Minnesota statutes, as well as other recommendations from the Environmental Protection Agency's 3 Ts for reducing lead in drinking water in schools, and the revised technical guidance in 2006, as well as the Minnesota Department of Health and the Minnesota Department of Education. There are some statutes that require public school buildings serving pre-K and kindergarten through grade 12 to test for lead and water. And the EPA 3 Ts has recommended that schools take remedial action to address lead and water exposure whenever lead levels exceed 20 parts per billion. The MDH and the MDE have jointly provided guidance that there is no safe level of lead, and the districts will work to minimize this risk. So with that, we're asking the board to approve the Wayzata Public School Management Plan for Lead and Water. And you're probably aware that we do this with other OSHA and health and safety type items as well throughout the district.
All right, thank you. So the recommended action is to approve the Wayzata Public Schools Management Plan for lead and water. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I have just one question for you, Mr. Westrom. So once we approve this plan, is this something that it'll take about 6 months to ramp up, or a couple months, or a year? What's our timeline roughly? Do you know yet?
Madam Chair, in the past, we've tested it for lead and water frequently throughout the year.
Okay.
We are aware that, for instance, over the summer months, when a drinking fountain may not be used, that we need to go through and we need to flush the drinking fountain. So what we're trying to do is test during the periods when the water is being used. So during the summer isn't the ideal time to test because our buildings are closed and we do go through and flush the water. But we're trying to do the tests during the normal operating times within each of our school buildings. So we will have a detailed plan that we'll go over with the facility committee of the board.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll be able to report back to you with information related to the testing that occurs.
Okay, great. Thank you. And that is congruent with a lot that we do. We talk the details in our committee meetings, and then we come back to the board with some concluding remarks. So thank you for that. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, I think this too is a roll call vote.
Yes. Cheryl Polzine, yes. Eric Brown?
Yes.
Linda Cohen?
Yes.
Andrea Keen?
Yes.
Anita Lucky?
Yes.
Chris McCullough?
Yes.
And Chair Johansson.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Westrom, for all of that work. Your office is always busy, but it seems like you have been especially busy, but I think I say that every month, so thank you so much for that. And now, not to be overlooked, Ms. Voss, I think we have a couple human resources items.
We do this evening. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Anderson. The next item on the agenda is board action on the contract with the Wayzata principal personnel. This item is being resubmitted to the school board for your approval. Although the school board originally approved this agreement at your June 11th, 2018 school board meeting, upon executing the contract, a minor clerical discrepancy was discovered. This discrepancy has been reconciled, and the agreement submitted herein is within board parameters and accurately reflects the agreements. It is our recommended action that you again approve the Wayzata principal contract with those slight modifications.
All right, thank you. Board colleagues, the recommended action is to approve the contract with the Wayzata Principal Association for the period of July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2020, as agreed upon by the bargaining teams and ratified by the Wayzata Principal Bargaining Unit. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Ms. Keen.
So I was absent for the last school board meeting, and I missed my opportunity to thank you, Ms. Voss, for your hard work in settling the principal's contract. It was an honor to work on that team with you, and it's always wonderful to see how collaborative and cooperative that process is. I want to thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you for that, Director Keen, and thank you for your participation in the negotiations process. You missed me thanking you, and just wanting to note how appreciative all of our bargaining units are to have school board members take such active participation. So thank you especially.
All right. Thank you. All right. Okay. I think this is a roll call vote as well.
Yes. Eric Brown?
Yes.
Linda Cohen?
Yes.
Andrea Keen?
Yes.
Bonita Lucky?
Yes.
Chris McCullough?
Yes.
Cheryl Polzine, yes. And Chair Johansson.
Yes.
Passes.
All right, great. Thank you. And one more.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The next board action is on the contract with the Wayzata custodial personnel for fiscal years 2018 through 2021. The school board's bargaining team and the Wayzata custodian representatives reached a tentative agreement on May 22nd. Subsequently, the Wayzata custodians, SEIU Local 284, voted on June 11th, 2018 to ratify this contract. Attached, you have the summary of the proposed three-year contract and the costing model. The custodian union and the district worked collaboratively to create changes within the current contract to better prepare the district for future custodial needs. Open and honest dialogue allowed us to make positive changes and strategically place the district for a sound financial future. We are extremely appreciative of the leadership displayed by the Custodian Bargaining Committee. The negotiation team members were Mike Polk, Darren Bratz, Daryl Fredrickson, John Hargraves, Chris Michelson, Ron Rogers, and Jeff Lays for the custodians. Eric Brown represented the school board, and we also had John Deutsch. I'm drawing a blank now to names. And we had our two district supervisors participate as well. The negotiations process was one that allowed the district and custodial bargaining unit to create and build positive relationships. The spirit of negotiations was positive and collaborative and very much appreciated. Through the negotiations process, we have put in place processes that will allow us to continue our work together. I'm extremely proud of the work we accomplished. So it is the recommended action that you approve the contract with the Wayzata custodian personnel for 2018 through 2021.
All right, thank you. Yes, indeed, the recommended action is to approve the contract with the Wayzata custodial personnel for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021, as agreed upon by the bargaining teams and ratified by the Wayzata custodial bargaining unit. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Brown?
I would also like to share my thanks to Ms. Voss and the entire negotiating team. It was a great process, and we worked through a lot of different aspects and ideas, and thank you for your time. I also want to thank the entire custodial group. We have beautiful grounds and facilities, and they do a lot of hard work to make all that happen. So I'd like to thank all of them.
Thank you for that. I completely agree. The custodians do an excellent job in the district. Their work is exemplified everywhere that we go, in our buildings, in our baseball fields, and they're very much appreciated. And the whole process was very collaborative and very appreciated by the district. Thank you, Eric.
Any other discussion? No? Okay. Hearing no additional discussion, I think we have a roll call vote.
Yes. Linda Cohen.
Yes.
Andrea Keene.
Yes.
Bonita Lucky.
Yes.
Chris McCullough.
Yes.
Cheryl Polzine, yes. Eric Brown.
Yes.
And Chair Johansson.
Yes.
Passes.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Voss. That concludes our Human Resources recommendation and all under the superintendent's report. You've been very busy, Dr. Anderson, in your superintendent's report. And next, we get to go to board reports. Is there anyone that would like to make a report for the board this evening?
Yes, Chair Johansson, I have a couple items to provide updates on. So as the chair of our ad hoc strategic directions committee, I'd like to give an update first on that. Last December, this board at our annual planning session decided to create an ad hoc committee to look at our strategic directions, which we've had in place now for about 3 years. And to take the opportunity to look at those strategic directions and to come up with ways to operationalize and measure those strategic directions in a way where we as a board can ensure accountability that these strategic directions are being followed and met and all of that by the district administration. So what we have done since roughly January is we've had about 5 or 6 meetings with our committee, which is comprised of Dr. Cohen, Ms. Lucky, Dr. Anderson, and then also from the administration, Dr. Stacy Lackner and Dr. Jill Johnson. So we've had a collaborative team of both board members and administration looking at the strategic directions, looking at ways to operationalize and measure those. And so that's what we've been digging into over the past 6 months. We have made a lot of really good progress, and at our upcoming July 23rd work session, we will be presenting the findings to date, if you will, and possibly some recommended next steps to the board as a whole and the administration. So good work to date, a little bit more to do. Would love to try to pull this across the finish line by the end of the summer, but so far so good, and then we'll see how things go on July 23rd. All right.
Great.
So that is item number one. And then item number two, I just wanted to make a couple of comments with respect to community ed. As I think we've announced already publicly, Jenny Ebert is our new Director of Community Ed. We're thrilled to have her. I believe she probably has started just in the last week or so. And so with that, I would like to give her a formal warm welcome on behalf of the board and on behalf of the Community Ed Advisory Committee. And I would also like to say thank you very much to Dr. Anderson, who over the past year, as most of you know, was wearing a fifth or eighth or 12th hat, as the case may be, as the Community Ed Director. And of course, would like to extend my sincere thanks to Ms. Annie Doty, who also steered us through the last year operationally as our interim Director of Community Ed Operations. So we look forward to seeing what Jenny will do over the course of the next few months, and I look forward to attending my first new community ed meeting probably come fall. That's what I have.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's always nice to hear what's happening behind the committee scenes. Okay, any other board reports? No. Okay, next we have the audience opportunity to address the board. If you could come and state your name and your address, and I think you're aware of this, Joseph, but the audience opportunity to address the board provides an opportunity for members of the community to address the school board. Speakers are allotted approximately 2 minutes, and I know you've requested some extra time. I think the best use of extra time happens with a committee or some one-on-one conversations, and so we will ask you, we'll give you a couple minutes, but I'm going to ask you to keep comments under 5 minutes or so this evening. You know that the school board practice is not to engage in discussion or conversation with the presenters, but instead we allow the speaker time to express their thoughts. So thank you for, again, I want you to state your full name, although I know I just called you by name, but why don't you state who you are and what you're here to talk to us about, and then talk to us for 3 to 5 minutes.
Sure. Good evening, Madam the Board, and members of the school board and superintendent. My name is Joseph Ching. I'm a recent high school graduate. Over my senior year, I found an interest in education, and I did my senior capstone project on grading systems and standards. I presented my findings, including a student survey of over 300 high school students, to the high school grading committee, along with the director of curriculum instruction and 2 school board members. And over the summer, I've interviewed multiple parents, students, and teachers about grading for learning. And to put it simply, there's a lot of room for improvement. Just for those who are not familiar, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1 being attempting to meet expectations, 2 approaching to meet expectations, 3 meeting, and 4 exceeding. But let me take a step back. I want to applaud the efforts of the school board, administration, and teachers for shifting the thinking behind grades and focusing on learning and development, because I think that's very important. So a typical grading curve distribution, in a typical middle school class is that there's a few 1s, there's more 2s, and there's quite a lot of 3s, mostly 3s, and a couple 4s. The 4 is sometimes not achievable, and expectations for the 4 vary from class to class. 4 is considered above an A, and 3 is meeting expectations. So there's quite a large discrepancy between a 3 and a 4. The issue lies because students are not motivated to get 4s when there's really high expectations for the 4, and so they'll settle for less. They'll settle for 2s and 3s. And another issue is that the system de-emphasizes homework, and so there's a practice component, a practice section, but this is not actually included in the assessment grade. And so this de-emphasizing homework leads to students being more apathetic about homework, and it leads to poor study habits, which makes it difficult to transition to high school. So my suggestion is that we adopt a 5-point grading system. So essentially, the current 4 would become a 5, and there'd be a 4, a new 4, which would essentially be like between a 3 and a 4 in the current system, like a 3.5, and that would be the new 4. And so what this would do is it would allow there to be an achievable goal for students that are above that meet or are meeting the standard or close to meeting the standard. And it's for those students to have a chance and to prove that they can go above and beyond without doing something that's completely out of the ordinary. That's something that's completely amazes the teacher, because that is something that's subjective and also not always allowed. Another thing is having clear guidelines for grade marks. So for 4321, IE and insufficient evidence and NA. And most importantly, I think, is to have better communication with community members. As I've been talking with multiple families, a lot of them don't really understand the system, or they don't understand that 4321 doesn't translate to A through F grades. They don't understand, and they also feel like they didn't have any say in the matter, right? They just had to go with the flow. So it's really important to listen to community input. It's really important to listen to teachers, to students, to parents, to include them in the conversation, because otherwise you're almost alienating them and moving on. And not really justifying why this system is in place. So I ask that we need to listen to each other, we need to support each other, and we need to grow together as to be a successful school district. And thank you for listening to my comments. And I'm happy to introduce Avi here. He's a former 8th grader at Wayzata East Middle School, and he'll be attending Wayzata High School this fall.
Yeah, as Joseph said, my name is Avi Punjabi. I went to Wayzata East Middle School all 3 years. I am now going to go into the high school. To me and to a lot of my friends that I've discussed this about, the biggest issue with the 4321 system is that it is extremely constraining. What that does is it really hinders effort. Now I can prove this by an example. A lot of pretty much every test, as I shouldn't need to prove, are more than 4 questions, which means that there are a lot of questions, which means when you get a certain amount right, you'll get a certain grade. Why would you do a lot of effort, all that effort to get 100%, if getting 70 or 80% would yield the same exact result, which would be a 3, which would be passing? That is the mindset that a lot of students have and a lot of students continue to have. What that does is make them feel like they don't have to do effort in middle school. They don't have to try in middle school. They don't have to care in middle school. And that in high school, when it really matters, they can just make that switch. Now, whether they can or can't make that switch is out of the question, because we've already seen that happen. What I think I'm most concerned about is how healthily can people make that switch? Can they make that switch minimizing stress? I think that adopting a 5-point system would be a step in the right direction, if you will. It would help with providing an incentive to do better than the bare minimum, but still be a passing without going really above and beyond for that 5 if we adopt it. It would really help with going to the mindset that doing more effort pays off. You get a better grade with more effort. I think that would put students in a much healthier mindset, thus making the transition into high school much smoother and much healthier. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much. We certainly appreciate your insights. And gentlemen, it's a beautiful night, and it's the middle of summer vacation. And we can certainly tell your passion and your experience with this. So thank you for taking time out of your evening tonight to join us. I saw lots of my colleagues writing lots of things down and listening intently. So thank you so much. Is there anyone else that is interested in addressing the board this evening? No, hearing no other audience members, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, July 9th, 2018 is adjourned.